Well, I know two aren't coming. Well, I know two people aren't coming because I got their email.
Cheers.
Usually, sorry, Scott, they don't know what they're missing, but of course they're gonna.
You know.
They're gonna. That's where we film this thing too. They probably cut onto that. They can.
So you know, maybe I'll take a vote of the class. First thing I should do is say, you should be here today. Should I tell them that? Did you record that? Okay, there you go. We got it. All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, Scott Brockman from our airport.
I am self-proclaimed airport geek. So there you go. You know all you need to know. I always show this because it's kind of cool and it's kind of nerdy and I like it. Every one of those yellow dots is an airplane. That is a time lapse of air transportation in the world. And over here is the United States. It gets a little bit dense in the aircraft. So, but as you look at that, you'll see night come across Europe. Europe starts to thin out. Now America is really gangbusters. But, oh, did it stop? You got a great computer, man. Up there it started again. I told him we got a requisition.
There was a ground hold in Memphis.
Yeah. But anyway, as you see, and then when it gets to the middle of the night, you can see now darkness is coming in, and all of a sudden you'll see the West Coast, and then all of a sudden you'll see this pot of stuff going towards the little dot there called Memphis. And all that stuff is really coming into your little town here. So anyway, I'm going to talk about the authority, but I want you all to listen to me. I'm going to talk about the airport and what we do, but underlaid in all of what I say is a couple of things I want you to think about as I talk about this. One, part of what I do, part of what everyone at the airport does is customer service, which is kind of what hospitality management is. It really comes down to how can you connect with a guest or a passenger in my case, and how do you make them feel like they're important, right? So I'm going to talk about the authority. I'm not going to hit on a lot of this stuff. We are a public nonprofit corporation. We get no tax dollars from city, county. We get a little bit of grant funds that are collected from fuel taxes and passenger fees from the federal government, but other than that, we don't get a lot of help. $117 million budget. We do have 3 airports. Most people don't know that. They only know about Memphis International. We also have DeWitt, Spain, down on the river, just north of downtown on South 2nd Street, and then Charles Baker out in Millington. Boring stuff about our finances. We're in great shape, even though everybody says, well, how can that be with everything y'all went through? Well, we've done a good job of making sure that we stay in good shape, and that's part of the other piece is learn. You got to learn good business. I grew up when I was a 16-year-old high school sophomore. My parents moved us to Florida. We took over a little mom and pop hotel, 21 rooms, not these big skyscrapers you see out there today, you know, on the beach, and you got to learn how to make a business profitable when you're in that setting, because you only got 21 rooms. So air service. So that's the biggest product that we, quite frankly, we sell to the community, and that's air service. So that's what we've got to try to develop and grow as our role. Now, our assets are voluminous to do that. We have 5,000 acres. We have 4 runways. And obviously we're blessed because we got this little company that flies aircraft with purple tails called Federal Express. And that helps us a lot with what we do out there. But the passenger side is what everybody wants to talk about. So in June of 2013, Delta decided they had too many hubs after merging with Northwest Airlines, and they decided they were going to close Memphis and downsize some others. We were the only one that got totally closed. Cincinnati got downsized. Cincinnati went from 700 flights a day. They got about 100 today. We went from about 250 and we got 19 today. So big change. But since then we brought I think 5 new airlines and 26 new routes to the market. So we're making headway. Not where I want to be, but we're making headway. So this will show you graphically where you can get nonstop flights to today. that map is decidedly different than it was when we had a Northwest or a Delta. We had 91 nonstop destinations when I came here. When I took over as president and CEO in January 2014, we were on our way down to a bottom of about 22. Now we have about 28 or 29, and it bobs around depending on the time of year. It goes as high as 30 something. But we have seasonal service to some places. So this is who flies and where they fly, and you'll see the color coordination of American, Southwest, United. All the Chicagos are light blue, and you can see who flies where and then the number of destinations. American with 8, Allegiant with 7, Delta with 6, Southwest with 6. Although Southwest just added their 7th with Denver. Just started, I haven't updated this slide, but just started actually 2 days ago, Tuesday. So we had to kick off with them, and it was fabulous. We hope they continue to grow. So what's happened over that time period? Well, back in 2008, when Delta and Northwest announced their merger, our predominant aircraft was less than 50 seats. Okay, so we had an average of 59 seats back then. What's happened over that is while we've lost flights, we've gained seats. You have to fly in a lot of cases through a hub, but we've got a lot more seats now than we had back then. Per aircraft, we're up to 104. And that's the trend that's really going on everywhere in the United States. These are the areas that we are working hard to try to get service to. And those are the ones that we show we have the greatest demand, either business or leisure. And those are the ones that we're attacking. And you can see most of them are on the West Coast. There's probably other destinations, but they're not as strong from a standpoint of demand. So let's talk about the passenger experience. And this is an area that we spend a lot of time, my team and I spend a lot of time talking about what can we do to make brand loyalty, okay? I call it stickiness. I want somebody, the first click they have when they're looking for a flight to be on my website. I want it to be to Memphis. I don't want them looking somewhere else first and us being some fallback later. I want them to say, hey, we love the airport, we got great customer service, it's easy to get in and out of, and so I'm going there first. That's the stickiness that we want. So we just, so about 3.5 years ago, 4 years ago, we rolled out a brand new website. And that website became modern, became more intuitive to find, flymemphis.com. Our old website was mscaa.com. And people would go, what does that mean? That's a really long, it's 5 names, part of an acronym. It's Memphis Shelby County Airport Authority. Officially, that's where my paycheck comes from. But that's not the brand. The brand is Memphis International Airport. Okay? So we converted everything, came up with a new logo, put the music note on there. The largest, boldest word in that logo over here is Memphis, because that's really what we're selling. We're selling Memphis. We're selling a community. We're selling an experience. And we want people to look at that experience and go, yeah, I like that. So it's all about stickiness. One of the things we added was a flight planner. The only place anywhere where you can see every flight into or out of Memphis is on our website under that plan of flight. Why? Say why. Why?
Why?
Thank you. Why? Because the low-cost carriers, Southwest, Frontier, Allegiant, if we can get them, and we're working hard on them, Spirit, Sun Country, the other ones, they don't subscribe to the booking agents. A lot of people, their first click is on Expedia, Travelocity. They go to an expediter. Well, though they don't subscribe to an expediter, so you won't find Southwest ticket on Expedia. You won't find Frontier's ticket there. The only way you're going to find them is to go directly to their website or to come to us. If you come to us, you can see everybody that flies, and then you can make your choice on which logo you click on, which will take you to their site. So we created a map, and if you highlight any of the cities on the map, it tells you what airlines fly to what cities. You can highlight anyone on here. Those cities that have more than one airport, they're both on there. So in the case of Houston, you have Hobby and International. In the case of Dallas, you got Dallas Love Field, DFW. In the case of Chicago, you got O'Hare International and Chicago Midway. So you get all those choices because you may want to be on one side of the city or the other to wherever you're going home to. Maybe easier to know that stuff, so you need to know. So amenities that we've also done, a lot of airports charge $3, $4, $5 for a cart, for a baggage cart. We don't do that. We just give it to you for free. We keep expanding our Wi-Fi. We actually, 2017, we were deemed by some Techno Geek magazine that we were in the top 5 for the most connected airports in the country. So, so we've got to keep upgrading it to stay in that list. One of the things that we've done is we've upgraded our parking lot. We added a lot of customer services. We got Credit Card Express, so if you're grumpy and don't want to talk to anybody, you can put your credit card in. When you go to park, you can put your credit card in. When you leave, you never have talked to anybody and the transaction's done. It records that card coming in, that card going out, calculates your charges, charges your card, you're done. Very bottom one should be further up there where the Credit Card Express is, but frequent parker program we added about 1.5 years ago, and that is where you earn loyalty points for parking. You get free days. So I tell people when I talk to business groups, you know, park at the airport, sign up for our program, park when you're on business, pay for it, let your company pay for it, then take your points and use them when you travel for leisure with your family. Get free parking then. They love that idea. One of the things that we do now, we've always done jump starts and all that. We do, especially with the new economy parking garage we built in front of the airport, is 7 stories, 5 floors are for public parking. It's spread out. It is a huge parking garage, so you can wander around a lot if you're looking for your car and don't remember where you parked. So we get people to call and say, I can't find my car. We pick them up, we drive them up and down the roads, we have people do it, and they push the little run button on your key fob, you know a little alarm button. When the alarm goes off, we found it. Okay, good, I can go home now. It's one of the most widely used things that we have is vehicle location. So great service. We've added, we had a military lounge, we've added a mother's nursing room, give them a little privacy. When we open the new concourse, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, we're actually going to have a separate room, a special room for children being treated at St. Jude, and then children that are in a program at Le Bonheur Children's Hospital, because they need space that can be, it'll have special air filters and cleaners. It'll be cleaned according to their specs. And then when they come in there, their parents know that they're in an environment that, one, is outside of that loud auditory part of being in an airport terminal. The other part is they know that while they're there relaxing, that they are in a sanitary space. So that'll be really great. The other thing we're adding is a kids' playroom. You know, parents, they come with their kids. Kids are nervous. They got a lot of nervous energy. We're going to be able to put them in a room, in a playroom, let them climb all over stuff and do all that fun stuff kids want to do. So, so we're adding that. So what's the latest program we're doing? Well, obviously we've got, I don't know, any of y'all been to my airport? Y'all fly in good. You know that right now it's a lot of brown brick. It's old looking. It's claustrophobic in places. You just feel like everything's right on top of you. Not going to happen anymore. We're going to modernize it and we're going to fix it. So right now we have closed the B concourse totally. There's doors across the entrance. It is shut down and it will become the modernization area. Everybody's moved to A or C, so Delta's on A, Southwest on A. Everyone else is on C. You got Air Canada, Frontier, Allegiant, American, United. So they're all there. They're going to be there till we're done with the B project, which will be a little over 2 years, about 28 months. So they officially, the notice to proceed they were given was September 1, so a little over a month and a half ago, about a month and a half now. October 1, they actually got released for construction. The first month was mobilization and permitting and all that stuff. they're free to go. Now the number of days that they put in their bid to us to build it, that's when the days start counting. And the days right now take us to January 4th of 2021. Really irritating for me because I wanted us to have the project done in 2020 because I wanted to say the vision for Memphis International Airport, our vision is 2020. Well, didn't quite work. I don't know that anybody is going to think it's real catchy to go, our vision's 2021. So we got to find a different corny phrase to use for this, but my staff will tell you that I lay awake at night thinking of corny phrases. So I'll come up with something, trust me. So anyway, so after we move in to the building in 2021, we will put everybody in the building. This is where they're going to be. So you have Frontier Southwest on the right side of the spine, American on the left, Allegiant, Delta, United, Air Canada. Then we have some open gates that we can use otherwise. The west leg of the B is not being modernized right now. Compliments of your airlines that fly you. We have this really kind of unique clause. It's really not that unique. A lot of airports that have our type of lease agreements have it, but it's called majority in interest. So my first go around with them was I wanted to build out all the gates on B. They said, no, we won't pay for that. Then I came back and said, okay, well, how about these gates down to this little part right here? That's 6 gates there. They said, no, we won't pay for that. So we settled on the 2 legs that we got. My guess is before we ever move them into this building, they're going to be begging me to hurry up and build that. And I'm going to say, I told you so, but it's okay, and we'll go ahead and build it. So anyway, that's where everybody will be. And then we will tear down, after they all move, we'll tear down the, I wonder if that's going to work. Nope, I got to do this differently. I knew I shouldn't have touched that thing. So here you see this part down here. This part is still active, and it's in the way of an airplane coming into here. Creates this area where if a plane comes back here, they can't get out. So we got to remove that impediment, and so when everybody moves, we tear that down, we pour concrete over it, and now our new Main Street has clear unobstructed access, and so that's what we're going to do. This is a really cool video that will give you a graphical depiction of what the new concourse will look like as if you're walking. Oh, what happened? Hang on. That's what it looks like, but that's not what I wanted. I wanted this. So this will take you on a journey as if you're walking from kind of the beginning of B all the way out to B, what will be B23. And the really high whiz-bang technological one has jazz music playing, but, you know, hey, come on. I don't get to bring all that stuff with me when I come out here. You do have speakers though, Chris.
Yeah.
You gotta figure out how to wire this thing up, man.
I think Asher knows how.
All right, for the next one. From now on, you gotta have jazz music when this happens.
I can't even play the radio in my new car.
That's why I just do books on tape off my
Can I
phone.
just pause this?
You do whatever you want. Hey, it's your class, man. I'm just visiting. Ah. Oh, it's gonna be, okay, there you go. Now get us rocking and rolling here. Click right down here. Right there. There you go. Now click it. Oh, you didn't. You clicked and you forwarded it. Go backwards. Now go down one. Now click the arrow, not the thing. Yeah, there you go. All right. Here we go again. This one I get to take a nap when y'all listen to music too.
Thanks, Asher.
Because you're in Memphis, you know. You gotta have some music when you do this stuff. No more claustrophobic, no more brown brick. high ceilings, lots of natural light. Almost modern. You see the sound stage when we went through the rotunda? There'd be a place for local music to play. I don't know where they came up with the names. Flying Pig for a restaurant, you know. Architects, you know. A little bit different presentation than you get today. Quite the different presentation. One of the things that this will have, we gotta mute this thing again though. Where's the little speaker at? See, now your speaker is going to make noise. All right. What'd I do?
Far right, far right.
Here. Oh, that's an alarm. Oh, crud. Well, I stop it now. Thank you. All right. Yeah, okay. One of the things we did in this that we were hoping prices would come in low enough to do it is this glass, all this glass you see, what happens when the sun's rising or the sun's setting? People in that building get blinded, okay? So instead of putting in mechanical shades, which then we got to repair and maintain, we actually have a local company. It's manufactured, one of their big manufacturing areas is in Olive Branch, Mississippi, a place called View Glass. It's electromagnetic glass that shades itself based upon the ambient light coming in. So all this will have that new glass, and you won't lose any of the natural lighting. You'll lose the glare and the challenges with it. So we're really excited about that. One of the challenges airports have is when you have passenger movement, carrying bags and everything else, everybody's in a hurry, is that when somebody stops to go in the restroom, Normally, both people's doors aren't next to each other. They both don't go in at the same time, come out at the same time. So someone's standing out in the hallway dodging people as they come down the corridor. So we intentionally put these vestibules in so that you could have a little bit peace and quiet outside the flow if your other party goes into the restroom. So that'll give you an idea of what it's going to look like and what's going to happen over the next slightly over 2 years. The next thing I want to talk to y'all about is something that's really exciting, and I want you all to think in terms of when you got your very first iPhone to or cell phone to what you have today. Go back 5 years, go back 7 years, however long it's been, and what is the difference between what this sucker will do today compared to what you had back then. 13 years ago, I came here and what I had was a flip phone, okay? So now it's been 15 years, I guess I'm in my 16th year. But what this is, you got a desktop on your hip now or in your purse, okay? So it's amazing. So as technology goes crazy, one of the things that we all got to be paying attention to, you guys especially, is because you're the ones, old white-haired guys like me aren't going to be running all these technological things, okay? So one of the things aviation is going to need is young people that get all this, okay? So, and one of the things that's going to come about in aviation is drones, unmanned aerial systems. We're going to have driverless cars, and believe it or not, you are going to have driverless airplanes at some point, I guarantee you. They'll be controlled by a system, but there will be nobody in the thing. Right now in Dubai, they are running unmanned, out of sight, unmanned drones that are flying people from one skyscraper top to the next skyscraper top. Okay, they're already doing that. Okay, personal quadcopters. So probably won't be in my career because I don't have that many more years left. But within your all's lifetime, you certainly will have locations where you will fly into a city and you won't take a taxi anymore. You won't take a shuttle. You might take an unmanned Uber that just driverless and takes you somewhere, but you probably also will have the option of taking a personal quadcopter. It books your trip, you get in it, nobody's flying it, and it takes you somewhere. So one of the things you all have to be challenged with that I wasn't is the rapid advancement of technology as you go forward and what customers want as a part of that experience. It's amazing that in the top 5 questions, it used to be, when I get a survey from a hotel, it used to be the ones always had to do with when you checked in, how were you treated when you checked out. Now you still get those, but immediately it's questions about our Wi-Fi. It's questions about technology in your room. It's questions about that stuff. Because that's what the world lives by now, is by technology. So as we go forward, you need to think about that. This is the one that's going to disrupt my world. But what's going to disrupt your world? And you need to think about that as you go forward in your careers. And think about how am I going to be prepared to handle that as I go forward in chasing my career. Okay? So, I don't know, what do we got, Chris?
We got plenty of time for you to finish up or handle questions any way you want, Scott.
Well, that's gone through that. So I'm more than happy to answer any questions y'all want. And you can ask me just about anything. Oh, wait a minute, you want me over here so you can see me. Okay. He hates when I do this. I walk around a lot, And he's like, can't you just stand still? Be happy to answer any questions about airports, about anything else. I may not know the answer, but hey, I'll at least say it with passion and conviction.
You mentioned that there's a DeWitt, Spain, and a Charles Baker Airport.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not familiar with them. I'm Memphis.
Okay. Well, if you go to downtown and you take 2nd Street out of downtown north of up by St. Jude, keep driving. You will run dead into it practically. The road curves around and it's on your left. You can't miss it.
So what do they?
It's right past a sewer treatment plant. Not a good thing to be next to an airport, but yeah.
Is
Huh?
it passenger?
No, it's general aviation. They're both general aviation airports. And they basically, the purpose they serve within my aviation system, which is the Memphis region, is to get those small aircraft off of Memphis International because they're obviously slower and take more time to get out of the way. So when you have a lot of heavy jets like we do, you really want to try to keep them as out of the patterns as much as possible. Now, not many general aviation aircraft fly at 3 in the morning during FedEx's push, but during the daytime. And we still have GA aircraft and corporate aircraft on Memphis International. But a lot of the slow and go private aircraft, they're down on the river or up in Millington. They're both general aviation. And we have about 97 planes that are based at Spain. There are other ones that are there temporarily, but they're permanently based there. And I think 103 or 105 out at Charles Baker. So, yes, ma'am.
So are they all, like Memphis International and the 2 small airports, are they all kind of under the same umbrella, or
Yes.
are they separately owned?
Well, we own all 3 of them.
Okay.
Memphis Shelby County Airport Authority owns all 3. And I tell people that, they go, well, wait a minute. You got Memphis Shelby County Airport Authority and Memphis International Airport as your brand. How does that work? And I say, think of it as Yum Brands. You probably don't know who Yum Brands is, but you'll know based upon what companies they have under them. They have Taco Bell, Kentucky Fried Chicken. So they have all these brands down here, and they got a parent company up here. Memphis Shelby County Airport Authority is the parent company. We just happen to have 3 airports we operate under. So Memphis International is the one everybody wants to hear about, though. Anything else? Yeah.
I learned you had a degree in accounting. How did you get started working with the airport authority?
You know, sometimes dumb luck is better than no luck at all. I fell into this career, which is the other piece I will tell you. Thank you for asking that, because I should have said that earlier. One of the things that you all probably ought to think about is adaptability. I started out, I got a degree in accounting and a minor in finance. I was going to work, and my goal was to work in corporate finance. Okay? I wanted to be the CFO for FedEx or Google or Microsoft or something, you know. Actually a little lower level than that. I would have been happy if I could have been CFO for Tropicana, which was based in Bradenton, Florida, where I live. Instead, I ended up working at a public accounting firm, CPA firm. Absolutely hated it. If you don't love what you do, find something else, okay? Which is what I did. Because you know what? If you don't like what you do, it's a job. I don't have a job. I have a passion, okay? I don't know if you can tell that, but I love what I do, okay? So love what you do. If you don't love what you do, then you're probably doing the wrong thing. I don't have any problem waking up every morning saying, I can't wait to get to work. So I happen to answer what has to be probably the smallest ad ever put in a Sunday paper. I was just looking through the paper going, I hate what I do, I hate what I do, I gotta find something with a highlighter on a Sunday morning. You know, sitting in my apartment, block and a half from the beach. I should have been out on the beach in Bradenton, Florida. And there's a dinky little ad. 3 lines was all it was. Title, where to apply. Nothing about it. I said, oh, I'll do that. It was the airport in Sarasota, Florida. So I applied. They hired me. Perfect start date for me. April Fool's Day. So, you know. And the partners, it was funny, the partners at the CPA firm kept saying the same thing. You got to find a different career. You ask too many questions, and you are just too outgoing and gregarious for us. Find something else to do, please. You know. And I did. I asked questions about everything. I still do. I drive my staff nuts. You know, why? Why? Tell me why. Because why is the question that you always want to know. That way you can figure out how to do it better if you know why you do something. How is easy, you know. Well, I put one foot in front of the other. We call it walking. But why did you walk from here to there? Well, I had a reason. Okay, now it's a conversation. So I was asked why, but they kind of kicked me out of public accounting. I left on my own, but they said, well, you're really not going any higher. And I said, well, that's okay, because I don't want to be here. So I went in, and I've been doing this I'm in my 34th year now. Love it. I'm at my 4th airport. Been all over the country. Some places different. You know, I started in Sarasota, Florida. Went to Des Moines, Iowa. I tell people I didn't realize it was going to be as much a shock as it was. I grew up in Ohio, so I'd experienced winter. Went from Sarasota, Florida to Des Moines, Iowa, and I do what I call weather and cultural shocks. Des Moines, Iowa was the first time. Now I experienced hurricanes in Florida out on the beach. That's the first place I've ever had 75-mile-an-hour winds, and they didn't call it a hurricane. In Iowa, they called it winter. Wind chills of minus 50. And I mean, you know, it was crazy cold there, crazy cold. So I was there for an airport in Des Moines, Iowa. I went to Tucson, Arizona. And I had a 100-degree real temperature swing driving across the country. I left, it was minus 24 in March of 2000. Minus 24 was the real temperature, not the wind chill. And I got to Tucson, Arizona like 30 hours later, and it was 76 degrees, 100-degree real temperature swing. Then I traded burritos for barbecue and came from Tucson to here. So, you know. But be flexible. You know, I tell we have a three-legged stool for our business model in my airport, okay? And I tell people the most important leg is the third one, okay? Predictability, sustainability, flexibility, okay? Predictability, because you know what, there's things in your life, there's things in whatever you're doing that you can predict. You know what those are. So take those out of the equation when you're trying to figure out something and deal with the variables you don't know. So take, you know, we don't know everything, but take the things you know. What's predictable? If you know that part, then all you got to worry about what's not predictable. Then the other one is sustainability. I tell people, look, I don't hire somebody if I can't keep them. I don't build a building if I can't maintain it. It's, you know, sustainability, things that we do. We shouldn't be using resources or eating fish that are extinct or whatever. It's got to be sustainable, whatever it is. You can take that a lot of different places. And then flexibility. If there's one thing you got to be in life, it's flexible. Because you know what? There are no guarantees. And every day, life throws you a curve. You got to be able to adapt. So adapt. Be flexible. You know. Trust me, I did not plan in 2005 when Northwest and Delta filed bankruptcy in the same court on the same day. I did not plan on losing our hub. In 2008, when they announced the merger, my flags went off. My little radar went off and said, this doesn't look good. But we had already started planning as to what we would do financially and operationally if we didn't have a hub anymore. Because that's the predictable part of this, okay? I know that's one of these things that could happen, so we're gonna plan for it. So, you know, you have control of a lot of this stuff. Just use it. Yes, sir.
Scott, you showed us a video of the new renovation. Mm-hmm. Enlighten us a little bit, if you would, on amenities, shopping, food and beverage.
We are working through with the concessionaires right now to develop the concepts. I came up in the elevator with a delightful young lady, and we talked about food and that in the airport. And she does, part of what she does is catering for Chick-fil-A. She says, why don't you get Chick-fil-A in the airport? And I said, great idea, we are. With the new thing, we're gonna have Chick-fil-A. But we'll do a little bit of local. We're going to go, when we rebranded our concessions in 2004, we did that, put in the food court, put in all the stuff around the rotunda, built the rotunda brand new. We still had a bustling hub, and we put in, and it was mostly 82% transfer passengers. So every restaurant served barbecue, because that's what people came here for. When I transferred, they got to run. You wouldn't believe the number of people eating barbecue sandwiches at 7 in the morning, okay? You know, back when we were a transfer hub, you know? And you go, isn't that a lunch food? They go, it is lunch, dude. I got up at 2 a.m. this morning because they started somewhere else. They got up, had to drive an hour to the airport, fly an hour to Memphis. You know, I mean, their days, you know, it may only be 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. in Memphis, but they're noon already on their body clock, so they're hungry. So they're eating barbecue sandwiches. So they were open. But we're gonna go through that process with our vendors and try to work through that. We'll still have Starbucks. We're gonna have Chick-fil-A. We'll have a combination of sit down. We're gonna have varying places where we can have live music near restaurant establishments. We don't want it to be crazy loud though, where people can't relax, and so we've got to have a balance there. We're working with the CVB on how do we deal with the live musicians. We do have the live musicians in the rotunda, and there will still be stuff in the rotunda. Part of what's going to go in the rotunda though is because we don't have the level that we need of restaurants. That's where the St. Jude Le Bonheur children's room is going to be. We're going to take one of those spaces, reclaim it, and use it for that purpose with them. But we'll have a mix, a cross section of stuff.
And the future of the Delta Sky Club, is that?
You know, it is.
Here permanently?
Every indication. I go over to see Delta again on October 15th. Part of what I do is travel around to airline offices and talk to them about how they're doing, what they're doing, what we can look forward to. So I'll be over visiting Delta again in October. I guess this is October. Gosh, time's flying. About 2 weeks. And I'll raise that issue again. We've got a lot of high-level travelers still here that use that club a lot, so they don't want to take that away. Me being I think it's predictable that someday they will stop operating that. So I have reserve space in the rotunda for a common use passenger lounge, where you will pay a fee or a membership or something, and you will have a spot not dissimilar from the Sky Club with food amenities and Wi-Fi and comfortable seating and all that stuff. Workstations and a place to get out of the hustle and bustle if you're, a business person. I traveled, I was recently chair of a national association, American Association of Airport Executives. And I was chair from May of 2017 to the end of April 2018. So I just finished a while ago. And during that time, I think I visited 46 cities, 6 countries, and I flew 117,000 actual miles. There were weeks I never even got home. I just went from one city to the next, and just to pack more bags. But so I get it. What people say about you need to get out of the craziness when you do that all the time. So I'm a member of both American, their Admirals Club, and Delta Sky Club. And so I don't go through Chicago or United hubs enough to worry about having a United one. But so we plan on keeping it for now. If we do lose it, we will either put in a third party to run it, or we'll just do it ourselves. Probably have a third party run it though. Yeah.
What else have we got for Scott? Other questions?
What else you want to know?
Everything you ever
Anybody
want to
need
know?
help picking your classes for next semester? Yes, sir.
Do you have your own pilot's license? Or?
You know what? A lot of people ask me that, and I wish I did. Okay. And when I first came into the business, I was over in the bean counter side, but I'm too nosy to stay in my place. Okay. So I always was out wandering around. It was my inspiration to get my work done fast, to get it done right, but get it done early, because then I could go wander around and pick other people's brains. And so I did that. But by the time I got to the point where I really had the bug, a couple of years in, I had a wife, small kids, and all of a sudden I didn't have any money. It's amazing what kids will do, okay? They suck all your money up for an entire lifetime. Y'all say thank you to your parents when you talk to them tonight, okay? But anyway, no. So I never did. I wish I had. And it's like now I'm like, well, hell, I'm getting so old. I don't know if I can pass a medical. But
can you get it at the Charles Baker?
yeah. Well, you can at Spain. I don't think we have a flight school at Baker.
Okay.
You can get it at Spain, and they have flight schools. I'm gonna tell you what. One of the issues that I'm wrangling with, and I wrangled with as chair of the National Association is, we have a looming shortage on the aviation side of this country's, business world. Pilots, mechanics, okay? Any trade or anything to do in aviation, we're gonna have a shortage of, because they're all retiring. And they adopted some new rules in Congress due to an unfortunate crash, which had nothing to do with the rules they adopted, but they adopted them anyway, so now we're stuck with the problem, which is we got a lot of people retiring out of the top of the spectrum and not a lot of people coming in the bottom. So we're gonna have a shortage. There'll be communities that will lose their air service because there aren't pilots to fly the planes. Doug Parker, President and CEO of American Airlines, I asked him I asked him a question about pilot shortage. I said, how is the pilot shortage going to affect, or how is it affecting American Airlines? He said, well, we don't have a problem right now. But he says, we're going to solve the problem because we're just going to pay our people more. Well, last time, if they have a mandatory retirement age, doesn't matter how much you're paying them, they're retiring at that age, okay? Which there's a rule that says they're going to retire at 65. So you can't keep them any longer. It isn't about a pay issue, it's about a tenure issue. How long can they fly? So I don't care what you pay people. If there's nobody coming in the bottom and somebody retires at the top, you're down one pilot, okay? And he said, if you, those of you that have school-age kids, tell them to become pilots. America's next millionaires. I don't disagree with him. It takes a while to get there, though. Yeah. The age of the millennial, they want to become a millionaire today, not next month, not 5 years. And that's going to be a challenge for most people that want that instant success, because you got to work your way through a process to do that. But the careers are there in aviation. I'm not trying to steal you from hospitality, but the careers are there.
I know University of Memphis is doing like an aircraft mechanic school.
Yeah.
Is that going to play any role in maybe recruiting pilots, or is that something that you guys are kind of collaborating with together, or what?
Well, I haven't actually studied their program, and I probably ought to get with them and talk to them. I know like University of North Dakota has an aviation management school, and you can do all kinds of tracks. Air traffic control, that's another one. If you deal well with stress, air traffic controller is not a bad gig if you deal well with stress. You got to be able to process things quickly, visually and non-visually. And it's a very, very stable, very, compensation's not all bad, benefits aren't bad, but you do, it's kind of like being a paramedic, EMT, or an emergency room doctor. When there are adrenaline times, it's serious adrenaline you're dealing with. But most of those guys that I know I always thought that they're probably going to be really weird people, but they're not, But anyway, yeah, all those careers. So we have a tech school. Tennessee Tech Center is right on the airport on Tullahoma, just north of Winchester. There's a avionics school. They do repair of the instruments and the avionics. They do repair of aircraft, engine mechanics, and all that. And there's a school there too. And those are, we're lacking those too. It's any of those trades. So. Yes, ma'am.
I've heard that the best time to find flights is late at night on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. Is that true, or?
There are those of you that will tell you. I've also heard that 42 days away from your departure date. Don't ask me why. 42 days. But yeah, Tuesday nights. I've heard that too. You know what? I'm sorry. I'm old, I got white hair, I am not staying up until 1 a.m. to book a flight. I'm just not going to do it, I don't care what kind of screaming deal I can get, I'm not going to say that much. But, I travel all over the world. As a matter of fact, I go to Split, Croatia at the end of October, and I go to Shanghai, China in the end of November, speaking on different things, and it's aviation related. I go to China and speak about cargo and trade, and it's not a good time to be going to China talking about trade either. But hey, it's part of, FedEx has a big relationship with them. FedEx is my biggest tenant, so I go over there and share the love from Memphis, and Purple Tails love you and all that good stuff, so, you know, so. What else can I tell you?
Questions, concerns? Okay, let's hear it for Scott.
How many years have I been doing this now?